अब इसके बाद मैं मोहतरम इमाम साहब से दरख्वास्त करूँगा कि वो तशरीफ़ लाएँ और तरबियत-ए-औलाद के हवाले से कुछ मसाइल।
وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إذ قال له ربه أسلم قال أسلمت لرب العالمين ووصى بها إبراهيم بنيه ويعقوب يا بني إن الله اصطفى لكم الدين فلا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون أم كنتم شهداء إذ حضر يعقوب الموت إذ قال لبنيه ما تعبدون من بعدي قالوا نعبد إلهك وإله آبائك إبراهيم وإسماعيل وإسحاق إلها واحدا ونحن له مسلمون تلك أمة قد خلت لها ما كسبت ولكم ما كسبتم ولا تسألون عما كانوا يعملون. These verses are from Surah Al-Baqarah, verses 131 to 135. The reason for the recitation of the verses is, as you also heard in the first speech, that the Khalifat Mussawer Rahimahullah, when announced this blessed scheme of Waqf-e-Nau, encouraged and advised and gave plentiful of guidance to parents in general to start from the very childhood of children, to start training them for this great matter which is at our hands. Here the Holy Quran sheds light upon the same matter, that when Prophet Abraham ﷺ was given or was told by Allah the Almighty to submit to Allah the Almighty, and he said that I have submitted to Lord of all the world, he then enjoined the same junction upon his progeny, upon his children, meaning Hazrat Yaqub, Hazrat Ishaq, Hazrat Ismail, and then the children or the progeny that came afterwards. And then again, Hazrat Yaqub ﷺ did the same thing by asking his children that who would you worship when I pass away, or who would you worship when I go and meet my Maker. So it is a very strong point mentioned again and again in the Holy Quran as well, that the upbringing or the Tarbiyyat should start from a very young age, and then once we ourselves believe to be on the right path, we should also inculcate all those high morals in the child, or in every child in that matter, from a very young age. Hazrat Khalifatul Masih Rabi Rahimahullah Ta'ala, after announcing this scheme of Waqf-e-Nau in 87, he gave many sermons regarding the upbringing, the training and guidances to parents and those children in many of different Friday sermons. A small booklet is also combined with 5 sermons of Hazrat Khalifatul Masih Rabi, which is also named Sermons on Waqf-e-Nau. They are a combination of 5 sermons in which Hazrat Khalifatul Masih Rabi, from very start age, from beginning where parents decide to sacrifice their child or give their child to Allah the Almighty, to the time where the child is entering Khudamul Anbiya or Nasratul Anbiya or Lajna Imaillah, step by step Huzur has explained and mentioned every single step that parents should take care of and how they should determine that. Huzur said that I thought that I shall convince the whole Jamaat that as we are trying to increase our spiritual progeny before the next century through propagation, we should also offer our yet to be born children as waqfeen in the cause of Allah right now, and we should pray that, oh Allah, give us a son, but if you have decreed to give us a daughter, then we offer our daughter to you, referring to the verse of Mafi Batni, which was also recited at the start of this session. This should be the prayer of the mothers and the fathers should pray in the words of Hazrat Ibrahim. As Hazrat Ibrahim ﷺ said, O Allah, let our progeny be among you, your elect servants, so that they be entirely dedicated to you. So that a magnificent army of waqfeen children who are willing to relinquish this world should enter the next century as the slaves of the God or as the slaves of the God of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Then Huzur said that we have been urging for waqf in the past. We have tried hard, but certain classes have generally considered themselves exempt from waqf-e-zindagi. Waqfeen that were offered to the Jamaat did not come from all strata of the society. Some rich people did offer their children, but mostly children were offered from the class of the society that does not enjoy high esteem in the eyes of the world. That is, the poor people of the lower class. Waqfeen that come from this social stratum do not lose respect because of it. On the contrary, it enhances their respect. But the fact that waqfeen do not come from the other strata has definitely lowered their esteem. The explanation of this aspect of the issue should not mislead anyone to think that if the seemingly respectable people do not dedicate their children, the Jamaat would be deprived or it would lower its esteem. Huzur said, I want to tell you that those who are seemingly respectable in the world will continue to degrade themselves in the eyes of Allah if they do not learn to offer their children for waqf. They should know for certain that no child is more respectable than the children of the prophets who dedicated their children to God with amazing humbleness, cries, tears and prayers. Then again, the Khalifa Mussawer in various sermons explained how to take care of children. He said, in comparison to a ram, these children have immense importance. Their parents should prepare them for Allah with a love greater than the love with which a man prepares a goat or ram that he is going to slaughter as a sacrifice of Allah. What is the jewelry for these children? Huzur says, it is taqwa. They are to be decorated with taqwa. Therefore, it is most important that they should be made muttaqi from childhood. Make their environment clean and holy. Do not do anything that will make them dislike religion and become inclined to the world. Give your full attention to them as should be given to a special thing that is being prepared for a specially magnificent purpose. Nowadays, with the usage of mobile phones, computer laptops and the television in this regard, parents tend to neglect the needs of the child, or we don't realize that the child is feeling neglected. A survey which was also sent earlier, it is said that when a child is awake and not sleeping and he's around you, the maximum amount of usage of these things, phone, laptops and television should be 2 to 3 hours during the day when the child is awake. Meaning the rest of your time should go to the child, especially in a working environment when the father is working and he's coming back home at 5 or 6 or 7 p.m. Then the rest of the time the child is very much needed of that attention and he should not feel neglected or deprived of the attention of their parents. Huzur further says, fill their hearts with taqwa in such a way that instead of playing in your hands, they may begin to play directly in the hands of Allah. Just as one entrusts an object to another person from the very beginning, you can entrust them directly to Allah. But the condition is taqwa. Taqwa does not need any intermediaries or other means. Formally, they will belong to the Jamaat and Tehreek-e-Jadid, but in reality, the children whom you will put in the lap of Allah will be taken care of by Allah. He will supervise and nurture them in the same way as he did the Prophet Messiah ﷺ. He wrote, this is an Urdu couplet, he wrote, Ibtida se tere hi saaye mein mere din kate, गोद में तेरी रहा मैं मिसले तिफले शेरखार. He must have said this couplet after studying his past life in depth and detail. He must have realized that as far as he could remember since his infancy, when he was a suckling, he had the love of Allah in his heart. He had a bond with Allah. Allah always protected him and guided him at every step. The Prophet Messiah ﷺ humbly submits, O Allah, I was always in your lap, so put these children in Allah's lap. We have enormous responsibilities and a huge workload. We are much smaller in number as compared to the nations that we have to win over to Islam. Our wisdom, our knowledge, our worldly resources are insignificant compared to the wisdom, knowledge and worldly resources of the nations we have to win over to Allah. So there is only one way, and that is the only one, to hand over our waqfeen and ourselves to Allah and start playing in His hands. It is a fact that anything, no matter how weak, can do wonders in the hands of a strong person. It may have no wisdom, but a wise man can put it to superb use. We are mere pawns. It is essential for Ahmadis to always consider themselves as such and always keep it in mind. Huzur says, have you not seen how chess players can play with pawns that lack the power of moving from one place to another of their own? These pawns do not have any wisdom or sense to know which moves are vital for their survival and which would mean their defeat. A good chess player can move these pawns that cannot move or think in such a way that they can defeat even the most skillful players. The decision of defeat or victory rests on the role that these lifeless, brainless pawns play on the chessboard. The great works of Allah are conducted in a similar manner. We too are lifeless pawns and have no power or intellect, but we are in the hands of Allah. There are others pawns in front of us which are under the control of Satan and the atheists, and then there are those who think that they themselves are the God, and they think they move on their own and think on their own. On the contrary, we consider ourselves mere lifeless pawns that have no power or mind of their own, but are in the hand of our God. This feeling of humbleness is true and genuine, and there is no understatement of facts to affect humbleness. This indeed is our real position as compared to the rest of the world. But if God so wishes, and He starts putting us to use, and if we put ourselves into His hands, then this game of chess will certainly be won for Islam. No power in the world can avert this victory. It is necessary to train these children from this point of view. Entrust them to Allah. Put these children in the hands of Allah. Then Huzur says that as for my fear is that parents may delay the training thinking that these children are very young. As for the supervision that Tehreek-e-Jadid has to do, as already mentioned, I have given them instructions and they are preparing accordingly. My only fear is that they may delay the preparation thinking that these children are very young right now, and it will be long before they grow up. The fact is that children have to be disciplined from the childhood. It is extremely difficult to reform badly brought up children. This childhood is the time when these tender sprouts can be directed any way that we want them to. Attend to them now, keep them under your control. At the end, Khalifa Rabi says that thus the gift of Waqfin-e-Zindagi is one of the many gifts that you will offer Allah in the next century, or the gifts that you are offering at present. Ahmadis are contributing money to numerous kinds of chandajat. They are making financial sacrifices and they are sacrificing their time. The gift of Waqfin-e-Zindagi is for the future. Allah turned my attention to this matter so that I should ask you to vow that the children born to you in the next 2 years, afterwards the scheme was increased and it was made worldwide and forever until the Khalifatul Masih would require. Who says, Allah turned my attention to this matter so that I should ask you to vow that the children born to you in the next 2 years, whether male or female, would be offered for waqf as a gift to Allah. The expectant mothers who could not participate in this scheme before can take part in it now. They can also vow, but this vow has to be made by both parents. They should decide on this together, so that there is unity of purpose in the upbringing and education of these children. And they should start training them in the best possible way right from their childhood. They should grow up with the conviction that they were born for a great purpose at a great time when the first century of the victory of Islam is merging with the second century of the victory of Islam. They were born at this juncture. They should know that their parents asked Allah to give them a child with the intention and prayer that the child would become a great mujahid for training the future generations. If people would offer their children while praying in this manner, then I am sure that right before our eyes we will have a very beautiful and amiable generation ready to sacrifice itself in the cause of Allah. May Allah enable us to achieve this. Ameen. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.